Hey people, how you doing? Welcome to the Sports Therapy Association podcast, recorded as always, nearly as always, on a Tuesday at 8 o'clock on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. If you're in the live lounge, for example, let me just bring some of these wonderful people up onto the main screen. Glenn Murphy, good evening. If you do join us live, then it gives you a chance to obviously ask our guests and panel questions. Also bring up your wonderful photo or logo up onto the screen so everybody can see it. Potentially 3,000 people might come and see your logo. It's not a bad way of networking, to tell you the truth. Alternatively, you can obviously download the audio only as a podcast of all popular apps, which some of you are probably doing and listening to at this moment. Cecily Hislop, thanks for joining us. Howdy all, says Cecily. Becky Carroll is here as well. Good evening, fellow STA podcast viewers. Class that, Becky. Glenn Murphy. They're now saying good evening to each other. So yeah, you're welcome to join us. If you're into the podcast, all you got to do is come along, like I say, to the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday normally. Right, so where are we? It's the first Tuesday of the month. Which means that we've got our regular Ask Us Anything, which is a chance for you to either email me any questions you might have to do with the soft tissue therapy industry, whether it's to do with setting up clinic, it might be something to do with practice. There was even a question we saw the other day, we were just talking about whether people are supposed to be wearing protective equipment still, and if so, to what extent. So there's lots of questions out there which you might have, which you can be sure someone else is thinking the same questions. You can email it to me, or if you prefer, you can come to the show live on Tuesday and put it to the panel yourself, and we'll discuss it here. So there we go. Before I do bring up our wonderful panel tonight, just want to have a shout out to last month's focus, which was on the abdomen and the groin. It was a fantastic month. I mean, we always have wonderful guests. I'm not going to lie, you guys really are spoiled. But it was a particularly informative month as we talked all about the abdomen and the groin. We started off with Dr. Sarah Rollins, who gave us a marvelous introduction to the anatomy of the anterior abdominal wall. If you haven't heard Dr. Sarah Rollins talk before, it's wonderful. It's worth watching on YouTube because she's so animated with her hands as she describes anatomy. She's often got a model of something which you'll pull next to her. So definitely want to listen to on YouTube or watch on YouTube if you get the chance. Wonderful educator, really, really worth listening to that. In part 2, we had Dr. Dora Papadopoulou, who looked at the anatomy of the groin, a diagnosis, and a really interesting look at the particular surgical procedure. She's a surgeon herself, for when conservative measures are getting the results. So again, it was absolutely marvelous eye-opener to the different surgery that is available when conservative methods haven't worked. And then in part 3, we had the marvelous Benoit Matthew of Function to Fitness, who a lot of you have been asking to get on the show. I finally managed to get him. Again, a marvelous educator, such a joy to listen to. And he talked about treatment for groin injuries. Sadly, part 4 was advertised with Jenny Burrell of Burrell Education, but Jenny couldn't make it for one reason or another. But it will be postponed, and we will bring it out another time. And Jenny is going to talk about her speciality, diastasis recti, which is abdominal separation, at a later date. So it will happen. So that's last month, available on all popular podcast apps and also YouTube if you want to watch the video. But as far as tonight goes, it's all about asking this wonderful team of people who are waiting patiently in the lobby, questions which you've emailed in, and also any questions which Live Lounge might have as well. Okay, I want to cover as much as possible. So I think, without further ado, I should start bringing up our panel in no particular order. I'll just bring them all up and then let them introduce themselves. Here we go. Hey, Danny.
Hi.
Hey, Nikki.
Evening.
Oh, we've got a busy little lobby here. I've got Scott coming up.
I think Tim's there as well.
Hey, Scott.
Good evening.
And have I got a Tim here as well? Not seeing a Tim in there, am I? Let's have a little look. Just having a check whether we've got Tim Allardyce as well here. No, can't see him down there. So coming later, we may well have, I think we're going to have Gary Benson. We're going to have Tim Allardyce, I think. He's been messaging me. I did hear my phone go. Yeah, just asking for the link. Oh, Tim's here now. Wonderful. How that man manages to organise multi-businesses, I'm not sure. Let's just bring up Tim now. Where is he? Let's bring him up to the show as well. Hey Tim, how you doing? Wow,
Very
check
good.
you out. Oh, people watching.
Ooh,
Wow,
you're
sorry.
looking
Bit of
very
a
rare,
check
very
him
rare
out, man.
to see me in a suit.
Oh, mate, it's the hair as well. Jeez, who's the guy who played the Craze? Tom Hardy.
I've grown a beard a bit.
Ah,
It seems to
suits
be
you,
going
man.
very white.
Oh, I'm gonna have to edit
I
that
think
out
that's
first.
stress.
That's very kind of man bromance going on there. Jeez, I'm gonna
Sorry,
have to
I'm
edit
running a
that
few
too.
minutes
Hi
late.
Tim, how are you? Do you watch football?
Very well.
But,
I'm
yeah,
so sorry,
good,
I'm running
man.
a bit late, and I really,
Okay, it's
I'm
worth
going to
it.
stay as long as I can, but I have to shoot off earlier.
That's fine. I appreciate you dropping in. It's fine. No, it's still good to see you. So great. I'm so gonna have to edit that. Hi Tim. Anyway, right, and Gary will be with us later as well. So great. Thanks for joining us, guys. Really kind of you to give us your time. Tim, you need no introduction. We know Tim already. He's been here most episodes, a wealth of information, multidisciplinary clinic, years and years, decades, I think you can officially say now in the game, employing massage therapists, osteopaths, podiatrists, and physios, and so fantastic wealth of resources. But for people who aren't aware of who else we've got in here, let's go around the clock and just give yourself a brief introduction on what you do, maybe what part of the country you're in. Danny, do you want to start?
Hi everyone, this is my first podcast. My name's Danielle, or Dan or Danny. I'm based down in Gatwick, in a place called Crawley, and my clinic is called Body Health Gatwick.
There we go. And you yourself, what titles do you give yourself, or what have you studied?
I am a graduate sports therapist.
There we go. Okay, you don't mention the biomechanics much, do you? I have
Yeah,
to prize that out of you.
I've got a master's in biomechanics as well. There you go.
Doesn't mention that. It's on the gait analysis course the other week. And it's like, and done anything else in biomechanics? Yeah, masters. Oh, thanks for dropping that one in now. Fantastic. Yeah, so modest. Nicki, over to you.
Evening, everybody. I'm Nicki Mansfield. I'm a soft tissue therapist for Mansfield Massage and Movement, my own business. I've been doing it for 12 years, and I'm based in St Ives in Cambridgeshire. I feel like I'm on a game show.
It's coming across like that so far. And you're exciting times for you as well, because you've started hosting courses as well, haven't you? New practice and new space.
Yes, yeah, I was hoping to be able to ask Tim a question later, but not if you've not got time. Yes, I've recently gone from being a lone practitioner since the beginning of COVID. I had a team before that and a few locations, but then lone practitioner, one practice, and in the past 6 months, probably 6 to 9 months, I've now moved locations, built a new practice, started hosting training courses, started recruiting my team again, and also taken on a role offered to me by James and Owen at Born to Move. So all of a sudden, I've got a lot to do.
You've been on the show before, and it's been marvelous watching your journey of expansion. I think you've been in a couple, and it started off, I think we were fortunate to have you on when it was a plan, and then there was kind of a bit of tension and fear, and then there was the episode where you're just over the moon and like you're smoking something, you're just so happy and positive. So it's been great. It's a real inspiration for other people out there to show how you've grown and expanded and moved around. So thanks for joining us. And then we got Scott Loynes. Scott, for people who don't know you, give us a little rundown.
Good evening. Scott, I'm a graduate sports therapist as well, based in sunny Seaton Crew, Hartlepool in the northeast. I kind of work privately most of the week, working rugby, working a sixth form, and then, as some of you may know, work alongside Matt and Gary for the STA as well for the past 3 years. Has been. So yeah, doing various resource developments, hosting coffee chats, different podcasts as well, which are in the members section. So yeah,
we should remind people listening about these coffee chats, shouldn't we? Normally they're on
Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
So every other Wednesday at 9:30.
There you go. And they're a wealth of information. They're just for STA members, aren't they? Yeah, so there we go. So that is one of the benefits.
It's complete open chat as well. So anybody can come on and just kind of ask whatever they want.
Perfect. And they're advertised in the STA, in the open group. They advertised as well, or is it just in there?
No, we kind of put them in there now and again, but we don't put the links in.
Okay, so it's just a member.
This is what we do. Nobody else does.
Fantastic. Great news. Okay, right. So as per a month ago, I've got some wonderful questions which have been sent in. I'm just keeping my eye on the lobby. If you guys see anyone else waiting in the lobby or anything, then let me know. Gary has got an MSc too. Sorry, Sorry, Scott, what's your master's in?
Sports rehab.
There you go, sports rehab. Thanks, Gary, for pointing that out. It's brilliant. So we've got a fantastic panel basically tonight.
I've got a master's too, but mine's in engineering business management, so it's kind of not applicable.
That's incredible. I've got a YMCA certificate from 1995 for fitness training that I did in Tottenham Court Road. I don't know if that counts. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's great. It took me 2 months. Anyway, right, so let's crack on with some questions because I know Tim's got to shoot soon and it's 8:14 already. So you know what, actually, Nicki, this is your stage now. I know you've got a burning question for Tim, so what better than take it from you?
Yeah. Well, I kind of did the intro bit already, Tim. I wondered if you... I don't know anybody whose portfolio in portfolio management is quite as large as yours, sir. You seem to have your fingers in many, many pies and seem to excel at all of them at least from what we can see on the outside. And having all of those different things kind of from the past 18 months come into fruition, all in the past 6 months, I wondered if you had any tips on portfolio management. What I'm tending to do, and I am working with it, I'm kind of progressing, but I am finding that I'm spending much more time on the bits that I really, really enjoy and far less time on the bits that are a bit more tedious, kind of like the patient notes and things like that, but are absolutely essential. So any tips for how to divide your time?
Do you know what? It's really hard, isn't it? Because there's so much in our lives that take up so much time. But I think it depends on what your goal is. What is your goal? Is the goal growth? Is that what you want to do? And is that growth? Is that courses? Is it more therapists? Is it more clients or patients? What's the goal? What do you want to do? Where's Nicki in 2 years' time or a year's time?
Okay. Okay. In that case, it's probably okay what I'm doing, because my goal, I've shared it before, but my goal is in the next probably 5 to 10 years, starting earlier than I thought, to see fewer and fewer clients, to have more because the ones I see are for far more specialized reasons, and hopefully be able to train some therapists so that they will kind of pass me the ones that they can't really deal with. I mean, it keeps it interesting for me, but also I love a good massage, and I probably won't stop doing that altogether, but yeah, probably less and less time on the actual clinical stuff and more time on the building the clinic stuff.
Yeah, so you've got to be good at so many areas, from PR to marketing to advertising to graphics to writing.
And this is what I'm really enjoying at the moment.
Yeah, and that's so cool. I mean, the thing is about all that stuff is it all builds assets which you can market and you can promote yourself. Whether you write a blog, that's great advertising for what you do, and you can make it quite niche. You know, we've just increased the website hits to 45,000 clicks a month on our Surrey Physio website, and we put a lot of good content on there, and that really helps. So you can go niche, go add content, add media, generate publicity, PR, talk to absolutely everyone, tell everyone what you do, and never feel nervous about it, or never hide it. Just tell absolutely everyone, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm hoping to, this is what I'm building, and people will get behind you, and they'll get behind you. And you know what? And if you fail, it doesn't matter. If you fail in one part, you just pivot. And I fail a lot. I actually do a lot more, and I fail in things, and I pivot and try and figure out what works. So it doesn't matter if one aspect of it doesn't work. Shut it down, do pivot. It's a really common word in tech, is pivoting. Everyone talks about pivoting because so many techs fail, so many apps fail, and so we all pivot. So I would say just go with relentless vision. Just have your vision and know where you want to be in 2 years, and then dream about it, think about it, live it. Go to bed and think about it at night, and just have that vision and that goal in your mind, and you'll do it.
Cool. Yeah, I think I've got a really clear vision of 10 years time. I think what I need to do is get some more short-term ones. Kind of, what does that look like in chunks?
Yeah. Say to yourself, how many therapists do I want working with me? Do I want 3 therapists? Brilliant. Okay. So how many clients do I need for 3 therapists? Okay. Let's say 50 clients a week.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start working and getting that 50. I'm going to generate 50 clients a week coming into the clinic, and I'm going to manage those, but I'm going to be driving those patients in. I'm going to be driving those clients in, and that, I think you can start on that sort of aspect.
That's really interesting to hear that there's people don't see the things which you've tried and haven't worked. They only hear about the successes. I think that's a really useful bit of information. Coming from you, it's really healthy to try things and realize they don't work. No one's going to laugh at you. It just don't work. Move on to something else.
I could spend a whole session talking about the disasters that I've done.
We'll do that. That's a show next week.
We'll do a disaster off, okay? And we'll talk about all the failures, from various ebooks that I wrote that didn't work to softwares to apps. I built apps that have failed. I mean, I've done a lot of failures.
That's good. That's great information. Right. Look. So thank you for that. I hope that's given you food for thought, Nicki. Right, so I've got a load of questions here which were emailed in or were taken from the Sports Maximus Training and Support Group, who I definitely think you guys would be interested, listeners, that is, to check out. It's run by Tracy Kleiner, I think it is. I really want to get on the show. It's a group worth checking out if you're looking for support and questions, and also a group to share information if you've got it on Facebook. And so a lot of the questions have come from there. So Tim, I know you've got it. I'm just giving you 8:20, just so you know what the time is, Tim. When you've got to go, okay, just to let you know. What I'm going to do is, as always, I'm going to bring these up on the screen and then see if you guys have got some interesting information to share, personal experience and that sort of stuff. Sounds okay? Okay, great. That's just as well as you're here. So we're going to start. It's interesting. The first few questions, there might be an overlap, but these I found on different websites, and they didn't connect with each other. So I think if your answer is, well, you can get one thing to do all of it, that's fine. So I'm going to bring them up. Let me bring up question one first of all. First question is, oh no, not that, hold on. First question is on the screen now. I'll read out the main question, the whole question which came from the website. Advice for online software for recording and storing intake forms and clinical notes. Needs to be good but affordable for a practitioner that is starting out. Okay, now the next question kind of links to this, and we talked about this a little bit off air. The next question is regarding booking software that keeps everything together and sends confirmation T&Cs. Now there might be an overlap, so there might be one thing that does it all. And people might not realize that. You might be paying a bit more and then suddenly have it all under one kind of useful communicating egg. But the second one was advice on a booking app calendar / software that keeps everything together and sends confirmation and T&Cs. So if you guys know of something which does both of those together, then feel free to shout. But the floor is yours. We've got people.
I've recently just updated my online booking software and have trolled through many to get where I've got to. I think I spoke to you as well, Tim. But yeah, so the one I used to use was TM3, which had clinical notes. It was really nice software. I really liked them, actually. Their customer service was spot on, to be honest with you.
That's the Irish-based one, isn't it? All in Ireland.
Yeah. And I just found like if I had any problems, they were just easy to get in contact with. So my clinics also changed and expanded. I've become quite multidisciplinary, and their software wasn't allowing me to do the other things that I did in the clinic as well. So without adding like significant cost to what it was. So yeah, I had to change. So I obviously went on like your STA, like Facebook groups, like trolling everyone, trying to find what everyone else used. I also found what was really useful was going to other clinics in my area and just going on their website and seeing what they used, because it clearly works for them. So it was a good way of just kind of finding out. So I obviously looked at Sport Injury Fix. I thought it was wicked, but it was a bit too simple for what I needed. There was one called Setmore, I think it was, which was dead cheap, super cheap, very simple. So if you're starting out, that probably is like one of the best ones, I guess. But it didn't have like the clinical notes side of things. It was a bit more simplified. It was literally like writing things down. 𝐀𝐬𝐤, I think, which is a lot of users use. The one thing I didn't like was you couldn't just ring someone up if something went wrong. And when it goes wrong, it's really stressful. I've been in that position before. So for me, it was really important to be able to contact people if, like, for some reason the website shut down or it wasn't loading. In the end, I've gone for a company called Mind Body, which aren't necessarily the cheapest, but they do offer me everything that I need. So I think with all these, so that's my experience of just looking around and picking what was good and what wasn't for it and what worked for me. But I think if you're starting out, just keep it simple what you're doing. One practitioner, one room, dead easy, nice and easy. When you start putting other little things to it, it starts going a bit, that's when it's difficult personally. And go for a company that you can contact, because it is really important when it goes wrong. So yeah.
How much of a difference, Danny, to give us an idea in price was there? She mentioned some of the cheap, but what range of prices were you looking at considering?
So I think Setmore had a free option. And then I think they were £25, something like that. Sport Injury Fix, I think, was the £30-40 marker, which a lot of them are kind of around there. TM3, including VAT, was nearly 60, but it did give you really good clinical note stuff. So, that was it. Mind Body, I'll be honest, is expensive. It's 100. But it does do everything that I need. And like I said, I've gone very multidisciplinary. Now, if I stayed with TM3, everything I added on would have cost me an extra £30, which then would have cost me more than what I'm paying now, if that makes sense. But yeah, it is what works for you at the end of the day. And my advice is to go play with all of them. It's very time consuming, but it is the only way you can see.
That's great. What a wonderful question for you to answer. What have we got? Tim, if you can reply, because obviously you'll be involved with various online software as well. Does it make sense what Danny's saying? You got anything to add?
Yeah, I think the key thing is there's a lot of choices. I mean, I could probably name at least 30, possibly 40 softwares, and I've got a lot of experience in this. We started with PPS, private practice software, which is quite robust. I had problems, and then I built our own practice management software. It took 2 years. And a full-time developer to build a whole software program. I bought Sports Injury Fix, SIF. I actually basically took on their debts. Unfortunately, Sports Injury Fix was hemorrhaging a lot of money and was due to shut down. I took it on. That's been a really tough ride, and made a lot of mistakes in that, and still make mistakes. But it's actually a very budget and a very workable. Affordable solution. It's £10 a month on the cheapest version, and for one user. I think 𝐶𝐬𝐤𝐤 is very, very popular. That's probably the biggest out there now. TM3 is very, very big. It's a very, very powerful software. You've got others like Physio Diary is another one. There's a new one come out just recently called My Osteopath. I mean, there's a lot. I think just it's got to work for you, because they all do something different. And actually, I looked at a lot of them as well, Danielle, and I didn't find one that worked for our clinics. So we built our own. And I mean, obviously we had some resources, and it took a long time. It took hundreds of hours of effort to do it, but I couldn't find what we wanted. And so that's how hard it is to get what you want. So you do have to really shop around.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because as always happens, as Danny said, she was going around trolling all these forums and seeing what everyone else is using. And there's a danger in that, isn't there? Because if you're just going to grab what someone else is using, thinking, oh, well, so many people are using this, if it doesn't suit your needs, then again, it's just a bad choice, isn't it? You really got to.
And I think there's things you've got to look for that certain things you just need, non-negotiables. Like you've got to be able to send SMSs. You've got to be able to send email reminders. You've got to be able to input templates. You've got to be able to send out forms. You've got to be able to do follow-ups to emails. Those sort of things are key things. You've got to be able to email your client base. There's those sort of things you've just got to have. So you've got to figure out, what do I need? Do you want accounting on there? Are you putting all your accounting software, or do you have a separate accounting system? If you've got a separate accounting system like Xero, does it integrate? Or do you want to use their accounting system? There's all sorts of things. You've always got to take money from a client. And so how do you tally that up? So it's a really in-depth thing, and it's a tough call. You just got to figure out what works for you.
Nicki and Scott, what's your experiences? Have you found that one bit of software will do both of these questions that have been asked separately? Do you find that happens, Nicki?
Yeah, I use 𝐶𝐬𝐤𝐿. There's some things it doesn't do. It doesn't handle classes very well, but that's okay. I don't run any classes. and it doesn't at the moment support paying a deposit, but it can take a full payment in advance. But it's integrated with Stripe, so you will be able to do that. But it does everything else I need. And actually, it's interesting you're saying, Danny, because it's Australia based, so they're not on the same time zone as us. But their online chat, typey chat, is the best chat I've ever come across. I usually get somebody answering it because they've got people global. Somebody answering it within maybe 12 minutes is the maximum I've had to wait. And they're all, I call them clinic bots. They every single person you talk to, they don't have to pass it to somebody else. They just know everything about what you want to do. And sometimes I've worked loads of stuff out on 𝐀𝐬𝐤 because it's quite intuitive. And so sometimes I'll just go on and say, I've tried to make it do this. It doesn't look like it does it. Is this the way I get around it, or is there a better way? And they come on and go, no, you're absolutely right. And then you can just crack on. I like how customizable it is. It does my clinic notes. I wish it did them for me, but it takes my clinic notes.
It'll come with AI. Won't be long.
It will. Scheduling is really, really, really easy. Confirmation emails, follow-ups, reminders. The only thing it doesn't do, which MindBody does, because on MindBody you create an account. So there's some way the user creates an account for your client.
Yeah.
Somewhere they don't. So if I was a client using 𝐀𝐬𝐤 one, what I'd like to be able to do is to log in and see my upcoming appointments. And because you don't create an account in that way on 𝐀𝐬𝐤, it's a completely different setup. You don't get to see that. So they can check, they can phone me and say, can you send me a list of my appointments? Or they just check their emails and see what they've got. But you don't log in as such. And it's not a single process to reschedule. You have to click a cancellation link. This is for the client. Click a cancellation link, and then it takes you to the calendar to rebook. Whereas I think it would be better if they could make those happen simultaneously. But so
you
far,
said something about classes. So, Danny, is that something you're running? You running classes?
Yeah,
is that one of the reasons you kind of tip towards MindBody?
I needed so many different functions. But yeah, I do teach classes. I do strength and conditioning, the clinic.
Yeah.
And then I have like other things in my clinic. I have like compression legs and hopefully some other bits coming soon. So yeah, I needed something. And also online bookings honestly have changed my life. They have freed up my time so much. They honestly, like the back and forth, the amount of texts that you get that say, can I book an appointment? And that is it. Nothing else. Not a name, not a day.
Just send them a link now.
Oh yeah, exactly. And you just go, or if they ring you up and say if you're driving and like you're on your hands free, like legal driving, and you can just be like, well, I can't see my diary right now, but why don't you book via the website? And then I've put a link on my website. They click it, so they don't need to remember the actual URL. They just know what my name is, and they type it into Google. Do you see what I mean?
I think it's a good filter as well, because you get some randoms that go, how much for an half-hour sports massage? And you're thinking, yeah, you're after a cheap massage, and I don't mind doing massages, but then you can go, oh, this is so I'm a soft tissue therapist. Have a look at my website. You can find out all about soft tissue therapy, see if it is for you. And on there, it's no mistake that my prices are on there, which makes some people kind of go, oh no.
Yeah, it eliminates all that nonsense.
Yeah, excellent. I think that's an important point as well. Before we go on to Scott,
actually,
I think it's. So you're paying extra, but you're saving a lot of your time. And I think sometimes younger therapists forget that. They think, wow, that looks really expensive, 40, 56 quid a month. If you weigh up how long you're spending, how many hours of your time when you could be doing something else, you're answering calls, you're ringing back, you're chasing people, you're expanding on text messages and like that. It's easy to make that mistake, isn't it? Sorry, Scott, I jumped in. What do you use? That's what we need to know now.
So interestingly, we actually discussed, this comes up quite a lot on the coffee chats as well. So there's quite a lot of people, Gary included, still uses like paper diary. It's not for me personally. So I actually use Setmore. I started using it like when I first started back doing clinic. And it was recommended to me by a friend. I was like, I'll have a look. And I've just stuck with it. And I actually just used the free version. And it works absolutely fine. And I use it across 4 different. So I've got myself set up as like 4 different practitioners, and I can kind of make as many services as I want and align them to whichever. So like for here, So it's kind of, this is the Seaton clinic. I've got another clinic in Stockton, so I just kind of block those days off, and I can, yeah, it works really well actually. And you can create separate links for different locations, different services. So if somebody wants injury assessment in Stockton, I just click that link and ping it across.
Yeah,
or if somebody does, yeah, it's really, and it's free. And it stores, if somebody books online, so it goes through the website. On my website, I've got click a appointment, book an appointment Seaton, book an appointment Stockton. Click on that, and it brings up all the options.
What's the top thing which you're getting for free, which is great, and that's interested a lot of people. What's the kind of first top thing which you missed and wish it had?
So the one thing which actually caused me a bit of annoyance a couple of weeks ago was actually not being able to do repeat appointments. So I can't just go, right, repeat that, because I've got I do a couple of home visits for like certain circumstances. So like, it's an 85-year-old guy who doesn't really leave the house very much, so I do go around, do 30 minutes worth of exercise and rehab with him twice a week, and it's on set days and set times. And because of being so busy, I forgot to put in those 2 days and times. And it happened to be that somebody just went online at, I think it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 people on a Saturday night, separate, completely separate, both of them booked those exact days and those times. I was like, oh. So yeah, that's a bit annoying. But apart from that, I mean, I can do the follow-up emails, because like literally you just bring up that person. You can see how many appointments they've had, how much, you can actually see how much money they've spent with you. It tracks all your income, so you can highlight it for me, I can highlight it per clinic, because I've also got myself set up for the rugby club that I work at and at the sixth form I work at. So all the students and all the rugby players can all book in, and all the links are all private, so I can make them private or public on the website. So it works really well, and it stores all the details as well.
Fantastic.
So, yeah,
that's so interesting. So
if they
3
book
different
online,
people.
Yeah, if they book online, they have to pay as well, which I like.
Yeah, sorts out as well. 3 people in here and all using different systems, but all clearly for different reasons. You know, so I think the main answer for that is write down on a bit of paper or chat through to somebody what you need, what you don't need, and then work it out from there. Great.
What I'd say is loads of them have free trials. Just go try the free trials.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, cancel it.
Exactly. Loads of them have referral deals as well. So if you can get a code off somebody that already has got it, you'll get a free month after your free month, and they get something as well.
Right, I'm going to bring up the next question. It's kind of tied in because it's to do with software as well, or hardware in this case, or software. But yeah, here we go. Question 3 is advice on a payment app card machine. Integral part clinic or not? We should start with. I've got any interesting stories.
I use Zettel. That's the first one I went for. Bizarre, you saying that you only just the online booking changed your life, Danny, and now Gary still uses paper diary. I resisted it for years. I resisted all kinds of payments until I was like, all right, electronic, you can do a transfer. And then obviously COVID hit, and I still hadn't got a card machine by then. And that's what most of my payments are taken on now. So I've used that all right from the beginning. I think they've upped their transaction charge a little bit, but it's only, I've just worked it out while we were sitting in the waiting room. They do £1.75%. So I charge £70 for a follow up, and I lose £1.23. And it's totally worth the ease of it for me, because you just literally go, thanks very much, beep, and then they're out of there. You haven't got to think about payment. You've got to sort out change. I couldn't live without it now. And I also can use it so when I go and do the hosting for the courses. So for example, I hosted a James Earls course recently, and we were selling his books while we were there. So I just took that with me, and so people could do car payments. They're so, you see them on markets, you know, when I go to the market, I'll go and buy my mum some flowers. They've all just got little Zettels and sum ups. And
Sandy, you were nodding. You're using the same thing, eh?
So yeah, no, I use iZettle. It's a good bit of kit. I think the sum up might be a smidgen cheaper. It's on my list of many things to attack to get a better deal. I think also SumUp, you can send a payment request to their phone. So
you can do that on Zettel as well.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I do use that. Although with my new online bookings, I can actually now start taking payments via that. But it's not very cost effective because it's I can't remember what company it is, Stripe, which is a bit more expensive. But for the classes, it's sometimes better just to have that up front, and then it's easier.
So I use Stripe as well, and they are just a little bit different. But I think it works out about 3 or 4p per transaction for me.
I want that 3p.
Yeah,
Just the living crisis.
I don't care. Stripe is what I use for online transactions. And they are confusing because Stripe does a flat fee plus a percentage. So careful you're not just looking at that bit, because their percentage is less, but they also add a flat fee per so it's a flat fee per transaction and then a percentage of the amount. And I don't like how I can't predict that. That makes it really difficult.
I don't trust Stripe. I've had some bad run-ins with Stripe on the website, and what happens if a client doesn't pay and then suddenly banks are informed and Stripe have charges each time, and suddenly you're owing them £80 for something that could have been sorted with just, oh, sorry, we've had a bit of a complication here. No, we can't take that back now. We sent out our letters. It all got very...
I've had to refund something and they go, oh, you can't have your transaction fee back.
Yeah,
like,
I'm a stickler for that. Anyway, before, it's really important now, Gary has actually clarified something. I'll bring it up on the screen. Gary says, I actually used to use, in capital letters, a paper diary. I don't have capacity to work in clinic, but I do put my scheduled calls and meetings on a whiteboard.
Is that just a big paper diary?
Yeah, it's not an app. It's
very 2023, Gary.
Yeah. And his only outgoings is whiteboard pens. That's it. That's all he needs. Scott, what are you using?
SumUp.
Oh,
So
right.
SumUp for card. I know I've seen a few people have issues with it. There was an issue which I think was about a month ago, but like the entire SumUp service was down. But that's the only time I've ever had any problems. The only issue I've ever had is if I'm playing music on a Bluetooth speaker through my phone, and then try to use the SumUp app, it will not connect to the card reader. I have to close the music because I just don't think it likes the amount of, I don't know whether that's my phone or whether it just doesn't connect.
iZettle is very similar. If you've got too many apps open, it doesn't work. Yeah,
so I normally just close everything down. For work, for like in clinic, I'm using a MacBook now, but for clinic, I use a Chromebook. So it uses all Android apps. So I just use that. And it's normally pretty good, but I reset it about 2 weeks ago, and nothing wants to work on my Chromebook anymore. So that's just a separate thing. But yeah, it's fine for me. It's same sort of thing as Nicki. It does take a fee off, but the cost of me taking money constantly and then having to drive into town and then pay for parking and then queue up with the bank to put it in.
My bank's closed. I can't do that.
So it's just it's easier, and it goes straight into an account on SumUp, which I just use as my business account, which I've got a card for. So I've got a business account directly linked to them. So it's really easy to kind of track how much you've got. You can send invoices through it if you want. It does charge you slightly more for invoices and the payment links you send as well. It charges a little bit more for that now as well. But it's like you say, it's kind of negligible. If I send a payment link because somebody hasn't brought their card or whatever to clinic, I go to get an extra £1 put on to cover for the admin costs of it, but they made a way around that. But yeah, and then on the website through Setmore, I use Square because that's set up for that. So it's a bit of a pain having two separate systems, one for online booking and one for in-clinic booking, but it's not that difficult, to be honest. It takes a bit of getting used to, but once you're used to it, it just runs pretty smoothly.
Fantastic. People in the live lounge, don't forget, you've gone a bit quiet there, guys. Just if you've got something you're using differently or want to show you support for something. Leslie Campbell here, going back a little bit, says, I've just started using FreshBooks for accounting. I'm thinking of asking Sif if we could integrate. So yeah, guys, if you've got anything you want to add, then feel free to do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going through these questions. Right, we've got the tricky one coming up. We were going to get to it eventually, and it's here. Let's bring it up. We might need Gary for this actually to look at the legalities and stuff. So let me bring this up. It's a good question there. Shows a sign of the times we live in. Here we go. So short version is on the screen. Are there words I'm not allowed to use when creating my website? And the longer version was, I'm a recently qualified level 5 massage therapist, just to put a little context into it. And I've been warned about words I cannot say on my website, like pain and patient. It was an anonymous one. It was apparently, they were informed by a chiropractor who they used to rent the room off. Yeah, and they're a little bit concerned now about words they shouldn't be using.
Yeah, we discussed this a little bit earlier on, didn't we? And I think if it's a website that people generally go on a search engine for and look for keywords, patient, fair enough. You know, we'll get onto that. But I think pain, I think you need to use that word, given, take the connotations of pain science and all that kind of stuff away from it. People don't go on and go, knee ache. How do somebody to treat my knee ache? They don't say that. They say knee pain. They say lower back pain. They say neck pain, shoulder pain. When they're going on Google, or they go sports massage, or, you know, so if you identify as a sports therapist or a soft tissue therapist, I still think that word massage and sports massage is probably quite, because that's what the general public use. That is what you're going to come up on a search engine for. So I don't know why you wouldn't use the word pain. I suppose it depends what context.
I think it's a sign of the times we live in. People are worried now, and there's a blurring of words we're not supposed to use, which Gary is going to come up and talk us through now, a wealth of knowledge there. And then words which blogs and people will say, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You don't understand the definition of pain. So can you say it's a pain? And all these sort of things. Well, I don't think there's a legality involved in it. It's just about how you present yourself and whether you're worried about people judging you for maybe not using languages in a modern way. But let's attack first of all, that's the wrong metaphor. Let's attack first of all, because Gary is coming in, words which we shouldn't be using on the website, because this is really important, I think, for depending on what your title is and what you're qualified in. Good timing, Gary.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I think on that thread that was on Tracy McClimmon's group, let me just connect my AirPods again.
This is Gary Benson, by the way, founder of the Sports Therapy Association, and has spent tireless amounts of time warning people not to use, for example, advertise yourself as a physio, because there are implications, legal implications for that when you're using titles that are only to be used by people who are members of chartered associations and things like that. So
I think one of the things that we have to look at, Matt, is the Advertising Standards Authority, because they are the policeman, if you like, of what we're putting on our websites. And I think personally it's okay to use words like pain, but it's not okay to use words like, you know, come and see me and I can cure you of your pain. You know, we have to be realistic and say, if you come and see me and I apply some of my treatment magic, and you don't use the word magic, by the way, that's a slip there, I may be able to help you. That kind of language is okay, but I am aware that the Advertising Standards Authority are getting increasing numbers of complaints about misrepresentation of qualifications, about misrepresentation of skill, and about, you know, curative properties of your treatment modalities.
is it something then, have we reached a stage where therapists could in theory be sued by clients / patients / customers? We're saying, you said you're going to cure my knee pain and it's not any better, I'm going to sue you. Is that the sort of thing people should be worrying about?
I think in a litigious society in which we live now, I think that's a real possibility. We've got a couple of members at the moment who are going through a stressful situation where people have, you know, taken them to small claims court because they haven't provided the service that they advertised. And now, whether that be, you know, sending out an exercise sheet on completion of the treatment, or whether that's having that curative effect that you allude to in your question, Matt, I think we've got to be very careful. You know, just while we're on the point, one should never display your insurance certificate in your clinic despite what you've been told, because that has been proven to increase the chance of a claim against you. But yeah, as Scott mentioned a couple of times, these are the questions we discuss on with our members on just about every coffee evening chat that we host. So I think we have to be realistic. You know, if anybody wants me to proofread their website, just send me a link to it and I'll give you advice. But I have liaised with the Advertising Standards Authority in the past, and I have seen communications that they've sent to people, and they are quite threatening. They are quite worrying, and they talk about fines, which are large fines. So I can imagine somebody having one of those land on their doorstep or on their inbox might be worried about it. But the first thing to do, if you do get one of those, is give me a call, and I'll take you through the process that we need to go to make sure that you're not disadvantaged or overly stressed about it.
Does anybody in here? Thanks, Gary, for that's brilliant. And like you say, yeah, Coffee Chats is the place for STA members. This is where your professional association should be guiding you. That's what you pay your money for. So our Coffee Chats are exactly what that is for. And you can have private chats with other members and mentors to help you with that. I'm wondering if anyone in here, if you guys still have to correct yourselves, particularly you, Scott, if you're working with the rugby team, do you still get people calling you the physio? And do you feel it's necessary to do it each time to correct them?
So it's a bit of a running joke at my rugby club, actually. Like, it's like, he's not a physio, you know. And I had somebody go, "Oh, some physio." I was like, "I'm a physio there, aren't I?" And like, to the point of the high-vis vest, I won't wear it. I don't technically need to wear it at the level that I was just at. When we go to the league that we've just been promoted to, I need to wear high-vis. But it says physiotherapist on the back of it.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I refuse to wear it. And I actually had a conversation at one of the county rugby games. She was like, and she was saying, "Are you wearing high vis?" I was like, "I'm not wearing that because I'm not a sports I'm a sports therapist." And she is a physiotherapist, and she was actually very surprised that I wouldn't, because a lot of sports therapists do just call themselves, to the point of the sign on my door says physio, and it really annoys me. Well, it actually says treatment room, and then somebody put up another physio thing, so I just cover it. I don't like it. I'm not a physio. If I want to be a physio, I'll be a physio, but I'm not.
Because you take pride in what you do, you don't feel the need. Because
exactly,
a lot of sports therapists feel a little bit of pressure, like, "I'll call myself a physio, keeps it simpler," and that's what they want to know. But you're not allowed to, are you? I mean, you can get yourself into big problems, can't you, Gary? And it happens.
Yeah, again, it's a protected title. It comes under the remit of the Professional Standards Authority. I myself have reported instances that I've seen, misrepresentation, you know, from industry professionals who I would expect better of. I know several members have been contacted as well. And I think this links very nicely, Matt, with one of the questions further down about the use of hashtags. And if I can just, you know, expand on that a little bit. I've spoken to the Professional Standards Authority and asked for clarification. I've had 3 communications in the last year. That's how long it takes them to get back to you, because obviously they're very busy. But what they are saying, and they won't put this in black and white yet, because there is a policy meeting happening in the autumn. The current policies have been reviewed at present, and then, as I say, there's going to be a policy meeting in the autumn, and they're saying, you know, let's just go back to what Scott was saying about being a physio. Let's say somebody comes in to see Scott, they leave a review on his website saying, say, "Great physio session with Scott today." Even though that might have been posted by a third party, there is a possibility that Scott, if he doesn't go on and comment on that or ask it to be edited, there is a possibility that under the current legislation, Scott could be fined. And the same if you're doing content for your website and you're using a hashtag and you put hashtag physiotherapy, there are 2 schools of thought on this. One of them is, and this was brought up by Chris Kitson in one of our web chats probably last year, when he said that if he writes an article and he hashtags physiotherapy, it's because he wants that article to go to a physiotherapy audience as well as a sports therapy audience as well as an osteopath. he is not inferring that he is offering those treatments. But by the same letter, if I put on a blog that, you know, come and see me for your Achilles tendinopathy, hashtag physiotherapy, hashtag osteopathy, then I'm inferring that I'm a physiotherapist or offering physiotherapy treatments, or an osteopath and offering osteopathic treatments. So we have to be very careful about how and why we would use a hashtag. But, you know, the Professional Standards Authority, they won't give a definitive answer at the moment. And they said it's all down to how you infer something. But my response to them was, in a court of law, you know, if it ever came to that, how are you going to prove an inference? So it's up in the air. And I think, you know, as a professional association, it's incumbent on me as possibly the leader of the team to warn our members of the risks that they take when they're doing this sort of thing. I can't tell you definitively not to do it. I can't tell you not to put your hashtags on there, because it might be a way of increasing your audience. But my recommendation is that if you look at it and reflect on it, can it be read that you're inferring that you're one of those regulated professionals or protected titles? Then I would guard against that.
Great information. Danny, you were nodding your head when I asked Scott, because he's like on the touchline a lot about physio. Do you get people referring to you as physio then?
Not anymore. I used to work in football, and I was called everything from phys to nurse. So whatever was the flavour of the week.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny because when I worked in football, I was pretty fresh out of uni, and it was maybe about 10 years ago. Yeah, different times. But you know what? As I've gone into the clinic world, I'm really proud to be a sports therapist. I know that's a bit corny, but like, I will happily tell anyone I'm a sports therapist. Yeah, in my hashtags, I put sports therapy, sports therapist. I don't put physio because, like Scott said, if I want to be a physio, I'd be a physio. But you know what? I'm pretty happy with the choice that I've made. It works for me, and it's my identity, and I think we should really own it. And the more we say it and we own it, the more it becomes normal. Unfortunately, physio just is a little bit catchy. Sports therapy is a bit of a mouthful. So Gary, if you could make that a bit more like one word.
Well, that's nothing to do with me. I mean, I was involved in a consultation where therapy descriptors were written, you know, probably going back about 14 years. But I had a really interesting conversation with one of our members who worked in football, and he was always called physio, always in a way defended himself that he wasn't a physio. And he brought up a very, very interesting point, that if you use physiotherapy with a capital P, then that's a protected title. But if you use physiotherapy with a lowercase p, then that has become a verb. You know, it's something we do to people, and the general public and the general sporting population, not necessarily the sort of elite and higher levels, they think, you know, it's a generic term for the treatment that they're going to get. They don't think it's the title of what we are. So there is a lot of confusion. I think it's down to the CSP to put some definitive guidance out there. It's their ball game. You know, they should be the ones who put it out there. But also the Professional Standards Authority, who sit above the CSP and the other sort of regulated professions, they should issue some strong guidance as well, instead of hiding behind the fact that, well, we've got some policies, we might look at them again next year.
Nicki, what's your experience?
Lots of my clients call me their physio. Not so much in recent years. I think that's and hopefully that's because I've helped to educate them on what soft tissue therapy is. I do get frustrated when I see soft tissue therapists saying, "Oh, I just call myself a sports massage therapist," because nobody knows what a soft tissue therapist is. And I'm like, well, they're not going to know unless we all, like, same with sports therapists, Danny, like, unless we start actually using that title everywhere we possibly can to get people used to it, then people aren't going to know. But I'm in people's phones as all kinds of things. Nicki physio, Nicki massage, back woman, you know, fixer, all these things. And if I see it, I will correct people in a kind of jovial way and say, oh, you know, I'm not a physio. I don't want to be a physio. And if a physio, and then I joke and say, if a physio sees that in your phone, you make sure you tell them that I've told them that I'm not. Because it's, and I explain then it's protected, and then you have to get into a conversation about regulation and protection, and well, why isn't your industry regulated then? And so it just kind of, I don't get too upset about it. But I do correct people. I'm a soft tissue therapist. I'm very, very proud of it.
This is problem, isn't there, with sports therapy? It does maybe limit people to contact you because they think you miss all the occupational health. I think that's why people look for something else rather than sports therapists. And then that's the idea maybe of soft tissue therapy. But again, like you say, we've got to use it more so people understand what it is and see it more often.
If it occurs in an inquiry, so if somebody's contacted me to say, oh, I've been to see my doctor and I've got this going on, they said physio might help, I'll say to them, so what is it that you or they said would help, that a physio could do that would help? And I explain that I'm not a physio. And they say, well, you know, I don't mean, and generally the words that come out of their mouth after that are, oh, I don't mean a physio, but, you know, that kind of thing. And so I kind of talk more about how it is they would like to be helped, and then I'll know whether I can or whether I can refer them on.
Matt, one of the things that we're doing at the STA, and this was introduced in January this year, anybody who renews or applies to join, their certificate, instead of having a generic membership category, now has the title of their award. So if they have a soft tissue therapy certificate at level 4, that's what their certificate will say. So that what we're trying to do is cut through any confusion you may have, because the training provider that you trust implicitly might have might say they're doing a level 4 sports therapy, sports massage therapy, but they might advise you in your marketing to drop the massage. And this links to what Penny's asked in there. If you are a soft tissue therapist, can you progress to be a sports therapist? Now, I openly invite all of the other professional associations who are involved in sports therapy to come and have an open discussion on one of these forums so we can get to the bottom of it. But basically, if you look at the National Occupational Competency Standard, which are abbreviated to the NOS, for sports massage, there are 2 competencies in sports massage. There are 14 competencies in sports therapy. Now, the sports massage NOS, National Occupational Standards, were updated around about 18 months ago, but the NOS for sports therapy hasn't been updated since the consultation I took part in 2007, 2008, were introduced in 2009 and expired in 2014. Now, there isn't the will of the industry to update those. So we are, in effect, you know, still seeing syllabi from an outdated curriculum. And to answer Penny's questions, there are no sports therapy qualifications on the qualifications framework. So all of these clinical diplomas and things that you might see in master's diplomas, they don't actually exist. They are in-house certificates which have an accreditation by an awarding, by a membership association. Sometimes it's not even a relevant membership association, and I'm not disrespecting what the FHT do, but when the FHT are accrediting a clinical sports therapy diploma, I question when there's anybody who's occupationally competent enough to actually accredit that. So I think the industry has got a big part to play in it, and I am planning to dedicate one of these sessions to the changes that are happening in the qualifications background at the moment, with the further watering down of the level 3 massage for performance or massage for sport as it's now being marketed. And we will be issuing guidance to our members by either the end of this academic year, in time for next academic year, or we will be issuing it for the start of 2024, depending on how things progress in the background. But I can see a time when the STA will not accept level 3 sports massage practitioners for anything other than student membership, and then we can possibly guide them towards a level 4, which in my opinion should be the minimum standard at the moment. And I personally see 2 clear pathways for the qualifications as they see at the moment, and have had this consultation with a number of awarding bodies, you can go and do a 2-day level 3 massage for sport or massage performance if you're a fitness professional and just want to add it as an adjunct to your toolbox now, or and don't have any remedial intent with your treatment, if you like. And I can't think of a word, because by treating somebody we're inferring that we're making them better, and I don't want that to be misunderstood. But if you want to work in the soft tissue therapy, the remedial industry, for want of a better phrase, then I'm directing people to do a minimum of a level 4. I think level 5s are commercially driven. In most cases, there are some really good level 5s out there, but there are some really poor ones as well. And we are marketed to, as an industry, that if we've done a level 3, we must do a level 4. And when we've done a level 4, we must do a level 5. But in many cases, and sorry if I'm ranting about this, but those levels, those numerical levels, bear no resemblance to education levels in the UK.
So when we get to some companies offering 6s and 7s, then you're laughing, are you? They're out there. Oh, you haven't got to look far. Yeah, level
6 is a degree, level 7 is a master's, level 8 is a PhD. Now, anybody who is purporting to run a master's diploma isn't. You know, they might have an accreditation from BTEC, and I'm not disrespecting BTEC here, but they offer a service where you and I, Matt, could meet tomorrow, write a course about hairdressing. We could go to BTEC and say, we want this at level 5. We would have to prove competency in delivery and assessment for 12 months, and then we can self-certify. So in theory, we could go out, get a hairdressing instructor. We could teach somebody how to, do a flat top or whatever, a skin fade or whatever's in these.
Bag a flat top. Wow.
Honestly, I don't get out of this office much at all. You can tell.
Yeah, not since 1980.
We can then assess.
Here for the guana bats. Yeah, lovely.
I'm mullets in. We can then assess them.
They are.
And then from next year, we can we can call our qualifications whatever we want in hairdressing. And I think that's where there's a fundamental flaw in the education system is, there are no standards. And there are people out there who are guilty of perpetuating poor quality courses with poor outcomes and with poor assessment, no external validity. And sorry, it's another rant.
That's fine. No. But it definitely drives home why it is important for us to watch out for the words we are using and correct people. But I think the nicest thing that's come out of this is feel proud of what is on your certificate. Feel proud of it and use the title and don't replace it with anything else, because you're doing your own certificate and missed service and that. So look, it's 9:06 people. Thank you for that, Gary. And it is something, I think a whole episode could be devoted on that. It's as Penny here from Soma Sports Massage Therapy says, wow, the things we learn every Tuesday night. It's true. There's so much information out there which doesn't make it mainstream. And that's one of the things we're trying to do on the STA is that's why you join the STA, because you're getting the truth as far as we know it and what's actually happening in the industry. Right. Well, the other questions we had lined up we can save for another day. We've covered quite a lot tonight. Just so people who have been listening, who have heard voices maybe on the podcast, Danny, could you just repeat, where you're based and maybe how people can follow you on social media?
Sure. So Body Health Gatwick is the Instagram and the Facebook. I'm based in Crawley in West Sussex, literally behind Gatwick Airport. And give me a little follow. You can see all the nonsense I get up to.
Fantastic. Yeah, definitely worth following, and we'll make sure that goes into the show notes. Nikki, for you, just to repeat, if people have heard your voice and they want to follow you.
I am at Soft Tissue Nicki on Instagram, and on Facebook, Nicki Mansfield is me, and then my business is Mansfield Massage and Movement. I don't do Twitter because I don't get very angry very often.
Thank you very much. It's good to hear. Scott, you're Scott _ the physio, aren't you? Where is that?
I'm actually Sports Therapy Scott.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, nice. On Instagram, and then SL Sports Therapy on Facebook.
Again, what part of the country? Because I think it's useful people listening knowing, because we're out of COVID now, I think. So, well,
I'm on the coast in the northeast, so in
There you go.
Peru in the
we
northeast.
should be doing more clinic visits. We had a course the other day up at Barefoot Physio in Exeter, and it was just so nice going to someone else's clinic and seeing how they got things set up. And I think it's useful visiting other people's clinics. It's something we should encourage.
The fact that you say up in Exeter tells us how far south.
Everything. So I'm on the south coast. Anything. If I just walk away from the sea, it's up. I can't go anywhere. I go to Astor, it's up north. It's like everything's up for me. Yeah, up in Exeter. So yeah, I think visiting each other's clinics is something we should do that as a regular feature. We could do a little blog in it. I visited so and so. Yeah, that'd be nice. Food for thought, Scott. There you go. Leave that on with you. And then as far as Gary for the STA, if people want to contact you, email address, regarding anything they've heard.
Yeah, Gary at the sta.co.uk. Also STA Gary on Facebook. That's just kind of a preferred thing because it comes through to my phone. And I use that outside of office hours, but I'm usually in the office until 9 p.m. most evenings, taking calls from members. You know, we have the mentorship scheme, we have the coffee evening chat. So Wednesdays and Fridays, I'm available 3 until 9. Every other day it's 8 until 2, and then 6 until 9. But if anybody wants to have an independent view of qualifications, we're the only association, to my knowledge, that's not linked to a training provider. We don't have directors who run training courses, you know, so we can give an independent view on what's out there. So yeah, STA Gary or Gary at the sta.co.uk.
Fantastic. If any listeners out there are interested in finding out more about the STA, then yeah, those email addresses will work. Also, I'm Matt Phillips, and that's Matt at the sta.co.uk. Go along to our friendly website. There's loads of information there about benefits of joining. It'll be cheaper than you can imagine. I promise you that, unless you're coming up with some really strange monthly fee, but it's very cheap considering what you get. So don't be put off by that. And yeah, if you do need information, then maybe come along to one of these Tuesday nights and chat with the people in the live lounge. Thank you, everybody who joined us live. Nice segue there. It's great to see you guys in here. Appreciate your feedback and questions, but it is a great place to hang out, and also our coffee chats as well, although they are just for members. So if you want a gateway to see what we're about and come along to the Tuesday night podcast recording, and once you are a member, then really make use of these coffee chats and the experience of Scott and Gary and other people for advice. Right then, that's it. Thanks, team. This month on the Sports Therapy Association podcast, the focus is going to be on nutrition. We've got a couple of great speakers lined up. I've also got a couple of slots I'm trying to fill, so I'm going to put a post out later. But if any of our listeners are really keen to get hold of somebody in the world of nutrition, which relates to you and your clinic and your services and something you're interested in, then send an email, Matt at the sta.co.uk. I can get hold of them. I'm connected. So anybody nearly that you want to get hold of, send me some ideas, because I want to bring you people who you've heard from and you want to listen to. So send me some emails, people. I've still got a couple of slots there I'd like to fill for later on this month. That's it. Thanks so much for joining us. Once again, thank you, Danielle Peters and Nicki Mansfield, Scott Loynes and Gary Benson. Really appreciate your time, people. And hopefully we will see some of you listen to the podcast live next Tuesday on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel. That's it. Thank you, people. Take care of each other. You can also say bye as well. Bye.
Bye.
It's like rainbow.